Verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty of the offense of manslaughter, as signed by the presiding juror. Does either side desire a...
They need to take it further. Don't let them sweep this under the rug and give him what they want him to have. No, take it to the White House. If you have to fight, if you have to march, take it to the White House.
Right now at 4:30, more on that breaking news. Former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean is now locked up in the Tarrant County jail. This is coming more than 3 years after a jury says he shot and killed Atatiana Jefferson in her own home. Thank you for staying with us into the second half hour of WFAA News at 4. I'm Jason Whiteley in for Jason Wheeler. That was Atatiana Jefferson's family there just a moment ago. Immediately after, the jury found Aaron Dean guilty of manslaughter. This is Dean's new mugshot that came in just about 10-15 minutes ago or so. He is now in the Lon Evans Correction Center there in Fort Worth. Let's bring in my colleague, investigative reporter Tanya Iser. Tanya, you've been through a lot of these trials. You covered this one gavel to gavel. The punishment phase is next, and the big question is, will Aaron Dean actually serve any prison time? What are analysts telling you?
Well, I've talked to a number of attorneys and legal experts about this, and here's the thing with manslaughter. Because he is not a convicted felon or was not a convicted felon prior to this conviction coming down, it is possible he could get probation. If this jury sentences him to 10 years or less and they recommend probation, then the judge has to grant it. If he is given more than 10 years, then no, he cannot get probation, and he also cannot get an appeal bond, is what the experts are telling me.
Receiving the call. That's him.
You know, another big question on this, too, is murder versus manslaughter in this. Based on what you heard from the prosecution and then the defense as well, how surprised are you that the jury said that it was manslaughter rather than murder? You know,
I'm not surprised one way or the other. You know, I really think this jury took their time. They deliberated for more than 12 hours. And they came to a decision. Obviously, with murder, you have an intentionality component, and then with manslaughter, more of a reckless component. I think part of the reason it took so long for this jury to come to a decision is they were trying to decide between those two, murder or manslaughter.
Is there a biggest surprise in this? You've watched this. I've walked by you as you're doing the live streaming coverage there. Any surprise in this trial?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest surprise, that caught both sides off guard was the change in Zion's testimony. That was the nephew of Atatiana Jefferson, who had initially said during the interviews right after this happened that she had the gun pointed up, and then in the testimony then said it was in his testimony in court that her hand was down. So that was one of the big surprises. And then I think just also his Aaron Dean's testimony, he just didn't come across from all the experts I've talked to as being particularly remorseful. Doesn't mean he's not remorseful, it just means it didn't really come across. And I have to wonder if maybe that had an impact with this jury.
All right, Tanya Iser, good insight. Thanks so much for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to continue to watch each step that follows this verdict. As Tanya said, the punishment phase is next. Sentencing begins tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. there in Fort Worth. We're going to follow it right here on air and online. We also have full write-ups on our website about how we got to this point. You can explore those at WFAA.com.